Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Okay. Well, I'm not gonna dance to this.
You know, this is, excuse me, a damn fine coffee.
There it is. There it is. And again, you should check out this music video for Mountain Bird's Damn Fine Cup of Coffee. It's just, somehow or another, they decided to take clips of Mary Poppins, of him dancing with the penguins, when they decided to go Who Framed Roger Rabbit. And it's quite fine. It's quite fine to watch, in that sense. And damn, is Dick Van Dyke a fly mofo. Alright. Welcome to Morning Coffees with James. I'm James, and this show you're watching on YouTube and Instagram now, and well, it's always been on Instagram. For those who are not familiar with this program, I'm on Instagram. I started out with my regular channel, and then I decided to go on, make it a separate one, and then now I'm gonna start doing them on BitChutes and YouTube. I tried to do it in the past, but for me, it's like, alright, I don't want to use the camera. I don't want to use the camera here. I want to use my professional camera, but like a dumbass, I didn't read the directions, and apparently you need to have more memory on your camera for it to be more of a functioning like film camera, like a video camera. And I didn't know that, and I kept wondering why I would stop at 20 minutes, and I'm like, oh, now I know why. Now I know why. And this is interesting. But let me see, what should we talk about today? Let's just talk about this little thing I was listening to. Excuse me. I'm very the coffee in the morning. It gets you. The video reads, New York City declares First Amendment suspension. Blasio says protests will not be allowed. Now, I know people out there are like, screaming at these protesters for being idiots, but it's like, and I'm looking at people like I'm looking at people like who were like hippies back in the day, or like supported the hippies, or people who consider themselves hippies. Why are you shitting on these guys? But, it was okay when they did it in the past, or when people protest against certain things. It's like, you're like, yeah, fight on. But it's like, this is like, something for our freedom space. There was a woman out in Texas who wanted to open up her hair salon so she could make money. She was fined, and she didn't pay the fine. She just tore up her fucking fine, which... Hold on, I'm gonna try to find her real quick. Salon owner. Anyhow, salon owner jailed. Okay, here we go. Yes, Dallas hair salon owner gets jail time for reopening her store. Okay, I'm trying to find... Salon owner. Shelley Luther, I think. Yes, Shelley Luther. So, Shelley Luther, is not a Karen because she didn't follow the rules. Well, she's using her Karen powers to just fuck with the system. Bravo, girl. What you in here for, lady? I tore up my fine because I'm opening up during the coronavirus. It's like, and I want to speak to your manager. I want to speak to the manager. I don't know what I was doing there. Just how Karens intimidate people. Let me speak to your manager. Yes, I'm the kingpin. Oh, I have a problem. Oh God, a Karen. It's crazy though. It's just so fucking outrageous out here. And then like New York City. Let's be honest about that city. Beautiful city. Turning into an absolute shithole under de Blasio. I keep getting them all mixed up, de Blasio, Cuomo, and it's like... It's oddly enough that they focus on de Blasio so much when he starts doing those interviews and stuff like that. Was it him who was telling that one reporter to, like, go get an essential job if she wants to help? Like, the attitude, like, some of these people have, I'm just like... But anyhow, it's... I get them confused. I forget Cuomo is the governor. Okay. All right, reason. All right, that makes sense. But this whole thing is just batshit crazy. I mean, like, look at all these people. These, like, I'm gonna use the words elite because they are acting like it. They are going out of control. I mean, like, we had, like, I think it was de Blasio or Cuomo walking through the park and the one dude was filming him. You know, you have people just, you know, the guy who called, like, it's just, ugh. I'm sorry, I'm losing train of thought here for a second. I'm losing my mind for a moment. You just have all these experts and all these people who are like, oh, stay inside, but then they're going out and, like, you know, eating steaks and doing this and going to their gyms, and it's like, oh, nobody else is allowed to go to the gym except for you. This is like, we're living in a totalitarian state now. Like, people talk about how evil Donald Trump is, and it's like, no, this is all these Democrats, people who own their own state. Like, governors doing this, you know, blue state governors doing this. You know, you hear something else fucked up? It may or may not be true. You can correct me on this. I didn't do the research yet, but Tom Wolfe, apparently, and I say apparently because I don't really know, owns a cabinet store. A cabinet factory brand, I believe. And he told everybody in Pennsylvania to close their businesses. Except his. And what, cabinets are an essential business? Like, oh God, I need those cabinets. How will I ever live? We need vaporators, masks, hand sanitizers, and cabinets. It's like just such corruption bullshit. Like, some places are reopening again, but they're being more cautious. But this is an absolute, like, fuck you. It's like, there will be no protests. It's like, this is how they take control. Once they start to strip away a lot of shit, they will eventually become absolute dictators. Well, we're gonna wall it off then. That's what's gonna happen next. I bet you. Maybe not. That's too extreme, but, like, it's getting towards that path. It's like, unless we can, like, veer away from it, like, this whole situation, we can veer away from it. If Donald Trump just came out and was like, all right, we're just gonna open everything up. Do not, like, fuck around with this. We're gonna open things up, and they don't listen to him. It's like, because they're just like, they want that power. They don't want to let that power go. I say, if you want to fight, you're gonna get one. This is how you get hurt. You get what you fucking... This is Joker on the Franklin Murray show, and he's gotten to the point where he's telling them the joke. You get what you motherfucking deserve. It's excuse my language. Oof, it's scary out there. And you got all these you got these people being censored on Facebook. You know, someone's talking about, oh, we'll just remove them from the platform, and it's like, this is where you should just go out and talk to people. If you have to share information, fine, share information, but just go out there and talk to people. Like, we need to talk. We're being discommunicated, 6 feet apart, and it's like, no, this is not healthy. This is not healthy at all. This is not like, mentally and spiritually. It's like, why do we need to be separated? You know, I go back to Death Stranding storyline where people are disconnected from the world, and you as a mailman have to connect everything, and that. Let's be honest, that's also the plot of The Postman. But the problem with The Postman is that they couldn't stick with just it being a Western, you know what I mean? I don't know. There's some problems with The Postman I don't like. Like, the fact that at the end of the movie that, like, civilization is, like, back to normal again, and, like, just a matter of, like, one generation. It's like, really, it takes a while. I mean, like, whatever this catastrophe was, like, you really can't, like, just spring back and just have like nice, you know, New England houses back to order again. That's what I remember from that ending. I'm like, I was thinking to myself as a kid, like, that's kind of quick. It's like they just like found like a Lowe's all of a sudden. It's like, no, a Lowe's. That's such a weird name for a store. Home Depot makes sense because it's, you know, a depot for your home. It sounds like a hardware store. Lowe's sounds. It sounds like a very, I don't know, very feminine sounding names. Lowe's. Like Lowe's. Who's Lowe's? Is it Highs? You know. I'm not making any sense. I'm just rambling on. I haven't had 2 cups of coffee in me and just out of it right now. Stretched too much. Let me see here. What else can we talk about? I mean, that's like my whole point. Like, well, I'll talk about this for a moment until something else comes up. I mean, I think we're getting to a point in our society where people are just starting to break down. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like we're in a point where, you know, you got all these entertainers like making garbage decisions with their games, and everybody has to bend it. Like, anytime there's any criticism over it, they're like, "Well, no, you're wrong, and you're racist, and you're." It's like, again, with my Last of Us like controversy. I'm not a big fan. I don't care for the Last of Us. I really don't. I don't see the appeal. It's like, oh, it's a dramatic story about survival, and it's like, yeah, so are other games too. I've seen better stories do that well, and I'm going to be honest with you. I prefer Fallout because it at least has like a very like interesting concept, except for yours, which is like mushroom men and, you know, and just, you know, everything just being an overgrown, and it's like, and just, you know, grisliness, and it's like, it's true, but I'm so tired of like a post-apocalyptic movies being so like too much grounded, and it's like, why can't you just make one that's like fun? You know what I mean? Like, just make one that's like, you know, just have some fantasy with it. I never got that. Like, I'm actually in the middle of writing a story like that. Like, right now I'm working on the script, and it's just like, I don't think it's ever gonna be a film, but like maybe turning into a comic. But it has a little bit more of a fantasy element to it. Like, not in the sense where it's like, oh, we have elves and stuff. No, I mean, like, yeah, it's kind of taking place in a fantasy, like, imaginative post-apocalyptic world. Like, kind of like, you know, going to, like, I don't know how to put it, like, Mad Max land. Like, you like that kind of fantasy. You know what I mean? Or, like, I'm trying to think of another good one. Or Terry Gilliam's. Like 12 Monkeys. That when you end the world, at least make it interesting. It's like, I like the Book of Eli because it is kind of like matching up with the whole biblical theme of it, because it does look like a dead earth, and it does look like, you know, shit just went sideways. But yeah, it's I don't want to scare people with any apocalyptic thoughts, but it's like, it just, I don't know. It's like most of this, I just went off on a tangent here. Alright. The Last of Us, like, with my Last of Us video, I wasn't making fun of the LGBT community, but just making fun of the fact, like, that, like, this new antagonist, Abby, in this game, is, like, basically looks like, she looks more boyish than man. And I know people out there, it's like, well, you transphobic? No, I'm more... Look, apparently, like, you know, to really understand The Last of Us, like I said before, it has a good story, but it just doesn't have something interesting to tag me in. Like, you can play that game and be like, alright, fine, it's a cover shooter, you know, but, you know, you gotta get through the story, and it's, like, long cutscenes. It's like, yeah, that's fine, but, you know what? At the end of the day, God of War did it better. Like, it was just a more fun experience. Even when I was playing it, I was like, this is not that bad. It's not like God of War, the original God of War games, because it's like, you know, you got an older Kratos, you've got his son, so he can't do any, like, weird, like, outrageous acrobatic nonsense shit. And it's like, alright, fine. but you know, they kind of made him like reasonably old like that. I like the fact that they kind of like the combat's slower and it's not like intense. It's more visceral, I have to say. Like in the other games, it was more like graphic, but this is like you can, if this was like, I think I know why they made it into lava people. Like when you're fighting not lava people, but they look like they have lava in their blood, but the Draugrs, if you rip them open, like you'll like cut them right here and then like grab them by, I think he doesn't cut them. He like, when he's in hand to hand, he just grabs like their collarbone and rips it in half. And it's like, imagine that being like a human being, and that would be just so that would just be uncomfortable to watch. You'd be like, oh, I just did that. So it's like I understand why they did that. Like change it to Draugrs. You know, it makes sense for that to happen. But no, I'm not done here yet. But it's just like, I don't know, just and then the whole like Abby thing. It's like that too, like what happens at the end. So both protagonists die, and this one antagonist that nobody like really asked for, and it's just there to serve like pandering. Yes, it's pandering, all right? You have to get over this. Anytime they change a character from black to white, or changing the sex, or changing the race or whatever, or changing, you know, his sexual identity, they're pandering to you. They are pandering to you. Instead of creating a new character that you can like and, you know, identify with, they're going to change this one character who's been established for years on end. It's like making Tony Stark gay. It should not be. The dude is a playboy. Let him be a playboy. And that's why he grew in Avengers, okay? He went from being this billionaire playboy to being a hero, saving the world with a snap of his fingers. Because he harnessed the power of the universe. What you think about, that's pretty badass. But again, back to the controversy with The Last of Us again. I know I'm beating a dead horse, but again, it's that, like, it's the mentality of these makers. It's like, well, it's the same thing with, like, Ghostbusters, the Star Wars movies, the new ones, the new sequel trilogy. You know, a lot of it's like calling out people, man babies. You're man babies. You're not even real people. You're just man babies. Your bodies haven't developed, and you've become more of a giant baby. Oh, it's like, you know, you got them calling them like 40-year-old white dudes, you know, and living in basements, which, why the fuck, you know, if you do own a house, why would you want to live in the basement? I know if you live with mom, you have to live in the basement or the attic, or if you're fortunate, live back in your old bedroom, try to get your finances in order, and maybe the corona will go away. Hopefully. It will. I think it will. But it's this insult of the fans. Like, now everybody's like, yes, they're all 40-year-old, but you know, if you keep that stuff the same and around, and like kind of give like good throwbacks to the why they like this product, like it's the same thing with like Ghostbusters. It's like Ghostbusters is very institutionalized, not to a degree where it's like, you know, where it's like The Simpsons. It's kind of had its like rises and falls. It's like when it was in its popularity back in the 80s, it was like, wow. When it comes to now, it's kind of like, yeah, if you've seen it, you've seen it. If you haven't, you haven't. And it's like, I've talked to a couple of people who haven't seen it. I'm like, this is kind of like a movie you should see. It's like, and it's like, I don't know, it just makes me laugh. It just makes me laugh when I hear that kind of stuff, because I'm like, it makes Ghostbusters more unique to me. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not destroyed in that sense of like Star Wars, where it's like so commercialized. Yeah, and Ghostbusters is commercialized too, but like, the whole point of the movie too is that they are like a brand. You know what I mean? Like, you know, the franchise rights would make us rich alone. Think about that. When you put it on t-shirts, that logo on t-shirts, mugs, balloons, hats, underwear, whatever, toys, money. It's money, and it's a great concept too. Like nobody like the first movie you never would think would like be a money maker. Like, and I don't mean it in the sense of like drawing in bucks, but like starting that kind of franchise. It's kind of unique because it's like, yeah, they were self-aware of what was going to happen. The franchise rights. Come on, think about it. And again, it's like, just don't make fun of your audience. That's all I gotta say. Don't like insult them. Like make products, but don't tell your viewer base that they're pieces of shit and like, oh well, you just need to play it because reasons. It's like, no, it's I'm thirsty as crap. This is why my mouth is getting dry and I'm just not focused right now. The reason why like people like any time they try to reboot a franchise or start their franchise and it fails, it's because you make something terrible, you don't admit it, and people complain, and yet you call them names. It's like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, to me, it's like somebody who makes art and, makes content, don't insult your fan base. Because it's like, for those who have never had a fan base, like, for those who never had, like, followers or any kind, like, Instagram is a great example. I never had, like, virtual followers, and I'm like, oh, I got 600, and it's like, trying to get more is kind of a difficult task, and it's like, really, it's like, the numbers shouldn't matter, because there's people that follow you, but then there's people you interact with, and those are the fans that you like. Those are the fans that kind of connect to you. And it's fun, it's interesting. It's like, okay, they're all looking at me for some apparent reason, and I whatever I'm making, they're liking it. Not to say everything I make is gold, but it's like, you're digging it, and then they're kind of like digesting it, and then you can disagree with me or agree with me, and it's like, alright, fine. I like that. I like that a lot. People who just started these have no right and have never started these franchises are just kind of producing, like, they're just producing something without love. And it's like, again, look this guy up, Overlord DVD. They're just throwing out shit that really doesn't, like, connect with anybody because there's no soul or heart to it. It's just pretty much like, just synthesized shit. It's like it doesn't have context most of the time, and that's most things. I mean, like, yeah, Force Awakens was okay, but it wasn't anything new. It wasn't anything that was like what drew the original in. Like, and again, I feel like it was mostly rushed. It was a rushed story because if you watch the original trilogy, I mean, there's some slow moments in it where they're just talking, like, I am thirsty as hell. I gotta go get a drink. If you watch that movie, it's like, a lot of people shit on the prequels for being too slow. Both series have some slow moments. Like, people talk about, like, the first, Phantom Menace being too slow. It's like, no, it was not. It did have a pace to it, but it was a slow, steady pace. You look at, A New Hope, and it has the same thing. The difference being is that nobody stepped in for George Lucas when he was making Phantom Menace. So that's the problem right there. Like, he had nobody to, like, bounce ideas off of. And again, there was heart put in those movies. People say, "Oh, it's corporatism," and he just wanted to make money. It's like, yes and no. Like, Star Wars just became a brand on its own. You couldn't not do that. Like, yeah, it was going to become a brand, but people connected to it on so many different levels. You know what I mean? Like, this was their, like, I get this, I like this. This is the crux of, like, pop culture. Even Star Trek. I mean, you cannot diss Star Trek. I'm sorry. If for all you Star Wars fans out there who are just nay to Star Trek, watch Star Trek. Just really watch it. Like, because it's not, look, it's not Buck Rogers in space. It's mostly just like, you know, highly intellectual dialogue with, you know, pondering questions about the universe, and that reflects on our society. I mean, like, you know, you can't do that with Star Wars as much. Well, maybe the prequels could, but the prequels were pretty, like, that's why the prequels kind of stuck around. It's because it's like, it has some kind of message to say if you look deep enough, if you go look beyond the shitty acting and stuff like that. Well, not even the shitty acting, but just like, if you go beyond, like, what the movie looks like and just listen to, like, what it's saying about politics, it's like, yeah, it hit it on the nose. But Star Trek was doing that way before. And, you know, people don't give it credit. Like, this is where I might get annoyed with the Star Wars fans. It's like, just love it. It's fucking beautiful. It's like, it doesn't have to be, you know, lasers in space. It's just flying like Discovery. It's, you know, mystery, intrigue. It's an adventure story that's, you know, it's, you know, sailors in space. That's what it is. You know, it's, come on now. And I'm talking about the original Star Trek. Everybody loves Next Generation, but the original Star Trek, I mean, damn. And then you got Next Generation, too. I mean, it's, you know, not bad. It's not, Star Trek's not bad. It's really good. Oh my god, just accept it, alright? I mean, this thing right here that we're talking on, and it was inspired by Star Trek. A personal computer thing, a communicator. Data, I need your help. Oh, they just did the whole button thing. That was their quick way out. It was like, yeah, we just press that. You know, I like the fact that you need like a cell phone thing to be like, yo, I need to contact you. And my mouth is super dry. I might end this right here. I'm a little over 25 minutes, and so I gotta get ready to work. However, I want you people to have a great day. I want everybody to have a great day and a great positive morning. It's crazy out there, but with a little positivity, you can do anything you want. You know, you gotta accentuate the positive and eliminate the negative. Latch on to the affirmative. And do not, and I mean this, do not get caught with Mr. In Between. Make the decision. So, that's all I gotta say. You have a great day. Peace.